Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on whichever part of the world you're joining from. And welcome to today's webinar on shift left testing, getting from zero to one using Testsigma. I'm thrilled that all of you are here today as we delve into shift left testing and explore how Testsigma can help you get there. I see good number of people joining the call. All right, I think we can get started. Quick introduction. I'm Kalyan from the product marketing team at Testsigma. I'm also joined by a couple of my colleagues from the product team here. They'll be answering your queries towards the end of this webinar. Before we begin, some quick housekeeping notes. This webinar will be recorded and made available for all of you after the session. So in case you miss anything or if there's something you want to revisit later, please feel free to refer to the recording. Also, share it with your colleagues and friends who might have missed it or who you think might find it valuable. And after this, there'll be a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar, like I mentioned. If you have any questions or comments, please start sharing them now using the Q&A box in your Zoom window, and we'll take as many questions as we can towards the end of the session. With that said, now let's jump right into the session. This webinar is about shift left testing, getting from zero to one using Testsigma, as I mentioned earlier. And the agenda for the day is a little about Testsigma for those of you who do not know what Testsigma is and the need for the move to shift left testing. Why exactly should we move to shift left testing? What is shift left testing? Building a shift left automation strategy with Testsigma, the do's and the don'ts of shift left testing, and so on. And as we mentioned earlier, we have a panel of our product members who will be taking your questions towards the end of the session. That is going to be our Q&A round. All right. At any point, if you think you would like a detailed demo of the product, or if there's something that you would like to know from our team at Testsigma, please feel free to drop a note saying you want a demo, and one of our team members will be talking to you shortly. All right. So before we dive into the content, right, I just want to kind of place this before you that this might, the whole shift left thing might seem like more of a theory, uh, but I want to assure you that this is not. Unlike our previous webinars where we demonstrated a lot of concepts using Testsigma, this time a few things will be more of a practical tips. As the webinar progresses, you will understand that shift left is more of an approach, and then there are not any hard and fast rules. So we've taken a different approach for today's webinar. We've spoken to some of our customers and some of our users who are leading the game in terms of the continuous testing game. So what I mean by that is, these people are way ahead in kind of leveraging automation to fast track their test cycles and so on and so forth. So from them, we've kind of gotten inputs on how teams can move towards shift left testing. So that's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of practical tips directly coming in from your peers. And yeah, don't worry, we'll still have a demonstration of the product where we'll kind of show you some best practices with Testsigma. So that's the agenda for the day. With that said, there's something that I've not added in the agenda, but I would like to discuss. Interestingly, we have spoken to, like I said, we have spoken to some of our customers, and there are some really good success stories around shift left testing. We'll kind of talk about that towards the end of this session. Right. With that, let's dive in. Before we kind of get into shift left and all of that, a quick note about Testsigma for those of you again who are not really familiar with the platform. Testsigma is an low-code test automation platform. That we use plain English to automate tests. So with this approach, what you can do is anybody can automate tests 5x faster than, let's say, any conventional test automation framework like Selenium, APM, or any other tools out in the market. You can create, execute, and manage tests, automated tests for web, mobile, desktop apps, and APIs also with Testsigma. You can run tests across 800 plus uh, browsers and operating system combinations, and then you have 2000 plus real mobile devices where you can run tests on. So everything is part of this unified platform called Testsigma. Yep, and then lots of our customers have replaced tens of tools with one tool, which is Testsigma. So everything from desktops to test creation to test execution to test management to reporting to CI/CD, all of these integrations, everything is taken care of by one platform called Testsigma. We have some customers like there are customers like Honeywell, Samsung, Cisco, and the likes that are across industries using Testsigma. So yeah, that's a bit about Testsigma. And now let's move to the shift left, the actual topic itself, shift left testing. What is it, and what is the need for shift left testing? So there's a big number here. You can see 2.41 trillion. According to a report by a publisher called CSIQ, the poor software quality cost the US a staggering $2.41 trillion annually, and this is annually. This number is a clear indication that quality issues are to be identified very early in the development cycle. I mean, I'm sure all of you know the pressure to kind of complete all of your QA activities and tasks assigned within each sprint and make sure your releases are bug free. So that kind of pressure, what it does is that with also the systems getting more and more complex each day, uh, it leaves a lot of bugs uh, which can be easily identified in your production systems and all of that. Causing uh, causing this high cost. So yeah, that is the need to move shift left, and now comes the actual part, which is what exactly is shift left testing. So shift left testing is more of a proactive approach towards testing. So that involves moving testing activities towards the left of your development cycle. That's the name. That's why the name shift left. Uh, Unlike traditional testing methods, where let's say, for example, in your waterfall model or in your V model, so once somebody develops writes a piece of code and then kind of pushes it um, into let's say a staging environment, you then test it and then you move it into a production environment. That is fine, but there the primary focus is on defect detection, not rather not on the defect identification part. So for that very reason, the more stable your application is going to be. That is the whole crux of the shift left. So like I said, moving testing towards the earlier stages of development is one part of it. Focusing on identifying defects rather than detecting those defects later in the or your staging environments. That's also the key to shift left testing. Then there's this concept called the testing pyramid, which discusses about the focus on running unit tests first, then the integration tests, and then the end-to-end tests. Uh, we align with that, but what we suggest is that none of these or all of these can be done in parallel. They need not be done sequentially, where you start with unit and then move on to integration tests or API tests and then move on to the end-to-end tests. You can do all of this parallelly, and you could very well leverage a tool like Testsigma to be able to do that. We'll get to that in a later part. So yeah, that's shift left testing. And now a little about the benefits of shift left testing. So I was mentioning a CISQ report, research report earlier, where it said, the identifying defects rate costed the US market alone a $2.3 trillion revenue loss. So the same report suggests that, if you move towards shift left, or if you shift your testing towards the left, can lead to 50 to 25 to 50% reduction in your time to market. Essentially, what that means is that your releases are going to be much more faster, is what the research indicates. So there are three primary benefits. One is faster time to market, which is something which we've already discussed. The second thing is earlier defect detection. We've just discussed that the sooner you identify the defects, the better it is. It is the overall software quality gets enhanced through this approach. And not just that, catching defects early in the development cycle will kind of minimize a lot of work uh, uh, later towards the development cycle. So yeah, these are the three primary benefits. One is you can detect your defects early, you have a faster time to market, and then you have good cost savings. All right, now comes the meaty part of this webinar. How do you build a shift left automation strategy? And I think uh, this is where automation is the key or the essential ingredient in taking the shift left approach. Automation helps execute tests faster and more frequently, which is again the objective of shift left testing. So this is not just merely all the pointers that I've put together here. These are these are some of the best practices we were able to collate by talking to our customers, users who've taken this path and are now very successful at it. So now let's kind of talk about each of them. The first one, I think most of these might seem pretty obvious, but these are actually the building blocks. Uh, Take an incremental approach towards automation. You start with some critical cases of your application. Let's say you have a retail application or an e-commerce application. Maybe start automating your basic critical paths first. Probably the login, the search, the add to cart, the payment, the that and the notification part, shipping notification part. Probably you kind of want to automate this set of tests first before you move on to anything. Once you nail these steps, and then once you kind of integrate or schedule runs frequently for every day or every week, depending on your release cycles, that's when you will be able to see the results of automation faster. So also, once you start with a set of cases, you have to gradually expand your test coverage by, let's say identifying your regression test suites that you want to uh, run frequently or whatever, and that will help you cover a wide variety of scenarios, and then also kind of make sure that no particular scenario is broken whenever you make some changes to your application. So yeah, this is the next thing. Run exploratory tests frequently. Automation doesn't mean that you should stop doing tests manually. You should keep running. You should keep doing exploratory tests for all the new features as and when they're being developed. That's the whole plan. That's the whole goal with shift left testing, which is that you keep giving the feedback to the developers immediately. And the really important part of this is that you building your sanity and regression tests, automating them is fine, but ideally after each code change, you're supposed to run these tests automatically. You're supposed to kind of schedule these runs automatically as part of your CI/CD pipeline. A lot of customers that I have personally spoken to, majority of them have integrated their CI/CD pipelines with Testsigma or any of their automation tool, right? So that after every build, they can immediately test it out. So yeah, I mean that's one. Leverage parallel execution to be able to execute tests faster. So if you run them sequentially, it will probably take a long time. So keep running parallel tests. And the other important part here is that do not leave your tests as is after a while. Keep regularly reviewing it, refactor your tests just so that they're maintainable and they kind of change with your changes in your application. So yeah, these are some of the tips that you can use to be able to uh, use to automate your tests and then subsequently move towards that shift left approach. One of the other things which I found common among those all those people who've gotten better with who are seeing good results with automation is that they regularly update their be it test repositories, element repositories, test data, or whatever, and they keep modularizing their tests. What I mean is uh, Let's say login is a scenario that comes up in multiple tests. Login will be a separate module, and then they keep reusing that everywhere. So that the time it takes to create those tests and then later maintain those tests are also uh, relatively low. So yeah, those are some of the best practices. Right now, I'll kind of show you how you can leverage Testsigma to automate all of these. All right, now let's discuss how you can leverage Testsigma to move towards shift left testing. Uh, So first of all, Testsigma is a low-code test automation platform. Anybody can start automating tests without, knowing to code or writing any scripts and codes. There are two ways you can do it. Testsigma allows two ways of doing it. One is record and playback. Of course, this works both across mobile and web applications. The second is called NLPs, which is natural language steps. So these are typically your plain English steps. You write them as you would write any manual test. That is how anybody can create automated tests. So like I said, for web, you can record and author tests. And for mobile, you can simply, again, record or capture the key actions, everything including touch, swipe, and for verifications and all of that, you can use the English, plain English assertion. All right, let's say we are in the dashboard. So creating a new test is as simple as going into the navbar and creating a test. So for the sake of this example, I've taken a web app, but it's similar for a mobile application as well. You just have to click on record and a new screen opens up. So here, let's say, for example, I give any random site, for example, simply-travel.testsigma.com. What I can do is I can click on, select from, you can see that a recording window has opened up here. You can see the steps here. Let's say, for example, I click on Washington, D.C., and then I click on London I'm searching for flights for 28th of February. I click on search. So all of the actions that I've performed so far have been recorded. You can see navigate to the site, click on this one, click on Washington, D.C., click on London, click on February 28th. So all of these have come up. So this is how simple it is to create a test case. So, and once you stop, all of these data will come back to your steps. For the sake of this webinar, what I've done is I have already created some tests that I will show you. So I have this test which is already created where you can see that I have some step groups, which these are reusable components. I can go ahead and use this step of these sequence of steps in any test case that I want to create. Let's say, for example, and these are things that where I've used data. So it takes the data from my test data profiles. So these are the set of steps that happen. So I've passed a couple of usernames and passwords. So it'll test for all of these. You can see the test data here. So all of the test data will be coming up here. So for now, I've only given one, but let's say, for example, I want to add one more. Say, for example, I want to add one more column. I can add a new row. I can call it set2, and then I can say kalyan.testsigma.com and password being password. So now what this does is that, so whenever I run my test case, so it checks with both of these username and parameter details rather than just checking for one particular username. So this is the set of steps that you can write, and then adding verifications is also pretty simple. You can see here, I've added a set of verifications here. Let's say, for example, if a particular element is visible, you enter particular data, and then you navigate, you click on, you go to the payment window, or you kind of navigate to the home page. So that's how my step goes. And with this, what you can do is also create all of these step groups. Like I said, these are the reusable components within Testsigma that can be used across all test cases, projects, and all of these. So I was talking about CI/CD integrations earlier. So you can see I can create as many API keys as I want, and then I can link it with, let's say, my Jira, or in case of CI/CD tools, I can link it with my Jenkins or Circus CI or CodeShip, and then I can run them. I can run my tests. Let me show you an example of what I mean. So say, for example, I have a test where I have a sequence of a collection of tests that I want to run. Let's say I've linked a few test cases into a test plan that I want to run every day on every new build, or maybe every day I want to run them. I can either schedule those tests to be run every day, or I can integrate with my CI/CD pipeline to kind of run them like you can see here. I can integrate it with my CI/CD pipeline to be able to run them directly from Jenkins or Azure or wherever you run it from. So that's typically how you set up CI/CD integrations within Testsigma. You can also, like I said, schedule your test runs. It's as simple as schedule run and just give the date and time, and tell how many times to repeat, when to repeat, and all of that. And you just choose machines and where to run the tests. It automatically gets run. So this is how you run uh, multiple tests. You can just schedule them, or you can run them one by one sequentially, or you can use the parallels to run multiple tests at a time. So you can make use of all of these functionalities within Testsigma to be able to simplify your test automation and test continuously. This is a brief of the Testsigma tool. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and then we will be more than happy to give you a demo of Testsigma. All right, now let's get back to the topic of shift left automation. There are some do's and don'ts when it comes to any framework or any approach. The same is the case with shift left testing. So the crux is that do start testing very early in the development process. And of course, the don't rely solely on either manual testing or automated testing. Automate repetitive tasks, automate maybe your sanity and regression packs, but keep running your exploratory tests and unit tests uh, every now and then. And the other important thing is keep monitoring your metrics frequently. So how many tests are being run, what percentage of tests are being covered, how many defects are cropping up in each release, etc. It'll help improve your test efficiency and also your test cycle eventually. Importantly, don't neglect test maintenance as your application evolves over time. Keep updating your test cases as well. So yeah, these are some of the do's and don'ts of shift left testing. And now is, I think, the time to kind of talk about our the interesting part. So we've had some conversations with our customers in the past, and we found an interesting and inspiring story which we thought we'll all share with you. A customer who's in the retail business, a very large company. um, they're kind of they have a huge engineering team, and they've been proponents of automation, test automation, for a very long time. They've used all kinds of frameworks. They've used Selenium, IPM, uh, uh, and they've used all of this for a while, and then they were not able to scale. They eventually moved to Test Sigma a while ago, and then they've kind of seen phenomenal success, and we kind of thought we would talk about it and let the community know about their story. So, all in all, they've developed about 500 test cases over a span of 6 to 8 months, all automated cases. Web, you can see the breakdowns here. Web, they've automated about 214 test cases. In Android, about 150 odd cases. In iOS, 122. They have multiple applications as well. So they have Android, native Android, native iOS, and web application and a mobile web application. Because again, as I told you, this is into retail and e-commerce business. All of the devices are equally important for them. And every week on the mobile side, they trigger about 65 PRs per week. And then on the web, they trigger about 15 PRs. And here's what you'll know. Uh, Immediately, every time a new PR, every time a new build is triggered, it is automated in a time of about 15 minutes. In about 15 minutes, their critical paths are all covered. The minute their uh, builds are published and the execution is over, all of the results are immediately posted on their communication channels. The code quality is also kind of, the test results are added to the PRs. Uh, all of this happens. And right now, I think they were telling us that they've almost automated close to 85% of their test cases. Only 15% of it is done manually. So that's a phenomenal job for a very large team. And there's one good thing that we've also spoken to a few other customers who were also kind of mentioning similar things. But the key there is these people were telling me that they've spent close to about 4 months perfecting all the test cases. They've written the test cases and then they've kind of made sure that all the tests are perfect. They do not, they're foolproof. All the parts are covered, and all of that has been done. They've spent enough time creating tests, and then now they're reaping the benefits out of it. Earlier, they used to spend close to about a day or two to verify every build, but now, as you know, the kind of turnaround time for getting the feedback is about 15 minutes. So that's actually moving left and kind of providing the developers with immediate feedback. So yeah, this is one of the case studies that we wanted to showcase. Now we are done. We have a bunch of questions I see that have come our way. So now we are done. We'll move on to the Q&A part now. Is this tool open source or licensed, and what is the license cost? I think Bhushan, we have both open source and a cloud version of it, or the licensed version of Testsigma. Cloud is the more enterprise and business ready version, whereas the open source one is more for hobbies and students, those who just want to explore the tool with bare capabilities. So that's the open source version that we offer. It'll allow you some basic capabilities, but it's limited in terms of the automation capabilities that it offers. Anything do you want to add to it, Vishnu?
You covered basically all the points. So we have both open source and a paid version.
Thanks. The next one is, can we test the application if it is not completely developed and if you only have Figma files? Will that be counted in shift left testing approach? So at that point, I don't think during a Figma stage, I don't think you'll be able to test the application out completely, Kamal. So also, of course, we might not be able to test that through Testsigma at this point. Hope that helps. So Eric asks, Vishnu, how does reCAPTCHA affect testing?
Okay. So usually we will be testing in lower environments where there is not much security to prevent automation. So reCAPTCHA is basically kept in place to prevent automating. So some reCAPTCHAs can be automated, but most of them cannot be automated.
Eric, I hope that answers your question. Alok asks, can you show how to integrate with Azure pipeline? Alok, it is the same as the way we showed in the case of Jenkins, but you can reach out to us. You can any day reach out to us if you would like to see a personalized demo of how you can integrate Azure with Testsigma. Anything to add, Vishnu?
No, I think we have documentation on how to integrate with Azure, so you can also share the document with them.
Sure. Yep. Alok, I hope that answers. How to get XPath of dynamic data? How do we get XPath of dynamic data in Testsigma.
Okay. So in Testsigma, we have the capabilities to add in dynamic XPaths. So you can make the XPath dynamic using runtime variables, or you can even make the XPath dynamic using the test data profile. So rather than you hard coding the data in your, let's say hard coding the XPath, you can make the XPath dynamic.
Got it. Thanks, Vishnu. How will we get Allure reports?
Sorry, I didn't get the
Vishnu?
question.
Ganesh asks, how will we get Allure reports? I think he's referring to the Allure Testsigma integration.
Allure, you mean Azure?
Not sure. Allure looks to be a test management tool. Ganesh, if you can post your query clearly, or we can kind of get on a call and discuss this if this is something very specific to your organization. Pradeep asks, are reports customizable as per our requirements? Vishnu?
To an extent, you can customize the PDF reporting, but the JUnit and XML reports are fixed reports. PDF reporting, you'll be able to add your logos. You can make some customization.
Thanks. Thanks, Vishnu. Can you see DevTools network response data under Testsigma? Eric asks.
Yeah, you can see. So we do capture the logs as well. So you will be able to see the network and console logs. After you run the test script, you will have the option to download these logs as well.
Cool. Thank you, Vishnu. What are the key features of Testsigma that differentiate it from other automation tools? Yuli asks.
Okay. One of the key feature that differentiate from other automation tool is the NLP based approach that we have. So the simple English based approach makes it very easy and accessible to everyone. So you do not have to learn any particular scripting languages to automate. You can basically quickly learn the platform and start automating. And along with that, we have integrations with several platforms. Like you have integrations with CI/CD pipelines, bug reporting tools, right? We have parts of visual testing, and kind of a unified platform. So you have everything in one place. So that is what basically. So let's say if you're automating in Selenium, then if you want to set up your mobile test cases, you have to switch to APM. So here you have a unified platform wherein which the same approach for automation can be used across all the different applications.
Got it. Okay, Pradeep asks, for mobile, can we automate maps or can we draw on map in mobile or web?
Okay, so usually these maps are canvas elements, so it is difficult to automate such elements, but we can do it using coordinates. We have done it earlier as well, but again, we have to look into the application to see what kind of drawings that you're expecting. But it can be done using coordinates based approach.
Thanks, Vishnu. Pradeep, if you want more details, please reach out to us. We'll add a link to our support support team later. You can reach out to us and then we'll get back to you. Regina asks, can Testsigma integrate with Jira, X-Ray, and will it be able to show pass or fail results?
Yes, we do have integrations with Jira and X-Ray. Yeah.
But just to add to it, Regina, when I was just showing the demo, I think you would have seen a field called X-Ray in the test development screen. So that's where you add you add your Jira test ID, and then you'll be able to get the results of on X-Ray. Okay. So next question, Sebastian, is it possible to save some data in a web step to use it in another mobile step in the same test case?
Is it possible to save some data in a web step to use it in another? Okay, yeah, that can be done. So we have explained the concept of test data profile. So you will be able to store any data into that data profile, and then the same data profile can be used in your mobile test case as well. So it can be passed, or we can also pass runtime variables as well.
Thank you. Kamal asks, in the context of shift left in early stages, there'll be a lot of changes in UI very frequently. How will Testsigma help in reducing that script or element locator maintenance? By this frequency changes, there will be a lot of time wasted in maintenance, right?
So in Testsigma, we have a concept called as auto healing. So basically, one thing is that the recorder uses relative paths to capture these elements. So unless the properties of the element has been completely changed, we will be able to identify the element. And also, the auto healing feature is there. Like whenever you're recording an element, right, it captures all the information of that element. So it generates an XPath, it generates a relative XPath, but along with that, it will capture all the parent div information. It captures all the what do you say, all the other attributes of that element. And in future, if there is some change and it is unable to find the element based on the current locator, it will auto generate new locators based on other properties and details that it has, and try to maintain itself. So if the element has been completely changed, again, re-recording. So whenever you create an element, right, this is mostly like you're going to store it in a shared repository. So once you create an element where in whichever test case you're going to be using that element, you can reuse it. So even in future, if you want to update that element, it becomes like a one-step process. So if you update the element once, it is going to reflect across all the test cases. So two things. One is the auto healing feature. It will try to maintain even small. If there is some small changes, it will try to auto heal and maintain itself. If there is a big change, you just have to update it in one place. It is going to reflect across all your test cases.
Thanks, Vishnu. Nico has a question. If you have many test cases or elements, what is the best practice to structure them so that you don't lose the overview?
Okay.
I think he's speaking in the context of ERP testing. Many screens, many elements.
Okay. So for elements, you have the capabilities to give screen names, right? So whenever you're creating an element along with the name, you also have the option to assign screen names. And with test cases, also you'll have the option to give labels. And later on, you can filter out and find these elements based on the screen name. Or when it comes to test cases, you can filter out and group these test cases based on the labels that you have assigned them.
Got it, Vishnu. Can we do REST API testing using Testsigma?
Yes. So we can do REST API testing using Testsigma.
Do we need to have programming language knowledge to use Testsigma?
No, so we use simple English-based approach. So there's absolutely no scripting language required. But knowledge of XPath will help you out in the long run. How to write XPaths. So that is one thing that will help you out. But programming language knowledge is not required.
Thanks, Vishnu. And I think just to add to it, so you can either use plain English statements or if you prefer recording, that approach also Tessima uses that approach as well to automate tests. Barbara asks for mobile automation. Does Tessima use native applications, native Android applications, and iOS and emulators, phone forms, or only responsive in the browser?
Okay. For Android and iOS, we use real devices. I hope that answers your question.
To the extent that I understand this question, I think what they're trying to ask is, do we support native mobile application testing, or is it just responsive web browser testing? I think the answer that Vishnu
And
was
use
mentioning is that
native.
we support both native and hybrid mobile app testing.
Yeah, we support both native and hybrid mobile app testing. And so they're talking about emulators.
Okay, I think execution
Yes, you will
execution
be
can be
able
done
to,
on.
yeah, you can run tests on emulators as well. So along with cloud testing, we also have an option for local device testing. So you can set up agent and then run the test cases on low emulators as well.
Got it. Thanks, Vishnu. Yuli asks, how can I run a test via a Jenkins job?
Yes, you can.
Okay, all right. Yuli, you can, sorry, you had this question about Jenkins job. You can refer to the previous
Oh,
webinar
I'm
of ours
sorry.
where we demonstrated that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You won't be able to run a test case, but a test plan via Jenkins.
So next question is, how does Testsigma address common challenges in test automation, such as maintenance and maintainability and scalability?
Okay. Regarding maintenance, as I mentioned, we have auto healing that greatly helps you in maintaining your scripts, and we have concept called as step groups where you'll be able to group your certain steps or certain flows that you're going to be reusing. You can group them and create step groups, basically kind of a reusable component, so that makes it easy to maintain again. So in future, if you want to make any changes to the flow, you make the changes in the step group, and that is going to reflect across all the test cases, and that also helps with the scalability aspect of it.
Got it. So one more question, Vishnu. Regarding self-hosted instance, is it possible to have multiple users?
No, that is single user. Only you will be able to access the test cases that you create.
Thanks. Which programming language is used in Testsigma? Can we create the test case only by recording?
So in the backend, we use Java. And when it comes to creating test cases, you can create test cases using the NLP based approach, wherein you can manually add in each and every, like you can manually add what action that you want to perform. You can just use the recorder to record the element, or you can use the record like step recorder to capture all the steps.
That's, I've been using Testsigma for months now. Is there any schedule per demo to all the scripts or test cases from basic to advanced test cases for us to widen our scope of usage for the unknown scripts used for beginners? Matthew, you can always reach out to us through support or through talk to us, write a mail to our sales team. They'll be more than happy to help you there. Kamal asks, can Testsigma automate TV applications and desktop applications?
We can automate desktop applications. Regarding TV, it is currently not in the product.
Thanks. What is the best approach to test multiple features at once? For example, checking on all forms, sanity checking all forms on a site.
Full features at once. So test plan, basically you can add in, like once you automate all the test cases, testing multiple features, you can then create a test plan with it. And once you trigger the test plan, it will basically run all the test cases, like uh, all the test cases that you have automated for different features. And then you can see a consolidated report regarding which are the features that are working as intended and which are the features that failed.
Got it. The next question is by Durga Devi. Which AI features other than auto heal does Testsigma provide?
So mostly we provide auto healing. So that is the major feature that we have. And other than that, we also have failure suggestion engine. So once if any element fails or if any test case fails, it also shows you a list of other test cases and test plans that might be affected by that element, so that it becomes easy for you to basically understand and fix the element accordingly.
Thanks, Vishnu. Just to add on top of it, as of now, we're kind of working on a couple more, including a couple more AI capabilities into our roadmap, Durga Devi and Kamal. So we are exploring generative AI to be used to convert test cases into, uh, into your tests into test scenarios into test cases. That is something we have in our roadmap with Testsigma. If you need any more specifics, please reach out to us. So one more question, Vishnu. If I have a form that does not allow repeating user submission, can I automate the test to use new user data each test?
Yes, we have a concept called as data generators that are going to generate. So we have these default data generators that can be used to generate random names, numbers, and stuff like that. So yeah, you can do that using data generators.
Thanks. Sebastian has a issue with iOS tests, I think, failing to map accessibility IDs. Uh, Sebastian, maybe you can reach out to our support team or whoever is your CSM, they'll be able to help you. Vishnu, anything else to add to it?
Yeah, so I won't be able to make. I need to see the test case to to understand what happened. But yeah, you can reach out to the support for more details.
Is there a place to find the amount of data that is shared and using a self-hosted instance? Will that solve? Uh, Not sure I understand this question, Vishnu. Any idea?
No, even I don't understand the question.
Well, if you can rephrase it, then maybe it'll help us understand your question better. Or please reach out to us. So there are a few more questions, Vishnu. We've answered this, but once again, how does Testsigma support desktop application testing?
So we can, so maybe they can book a demo for desktop application, and we can show them a detailed demo. I don't have
Sure.
a setup ready handy with me now, but they can set up a demo for desktop.
Sure. Thanks, Vishnu. Barbara asks, can you explain a little more about API testing? Is collections required only endpoints? Is it possible to test both SOAP and REST services?
Yes, it is possible to do both API and SOAP.
Okay, thank you. Can I run a test case? Oh, I think this is answered. There was a question regarding using data from web into mobile, but can we do that in the same automation script in a single flow? Like automating an OTP verification during account creation using web.
Okay, I need more details regarding what exactly the scenario is.
Good. Thanks, Vishnu.
Yeah, I just need more information. So, not sure, really sure what they're trying to automate.
Kamal, maybe you can reach out to us and then we'll try and understand exactly how we can help you address this problem. All right, I think we've taken up everything. If you have any other questions, please shoot it out to us. We have a couple more minutes. We'll be happy to answer them. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. This was very interactive. We kept getting questions, more and more questions, and we're really happy about that. You can always reach out to us at support@testsigma.com or please go onto our website and you can find a contact us or a demo booking page. You can book a demo with us with any of our product or support teams. They'll be always happy to help you. Also, one more thing. So we've come up with a new ebook on functional test automation using low-code technology, using a low-code test automation platform like Testsigma. We had mentioned this during our last webinar, and there was an overwhelming interest in this ebook. So we are sharing the link to this ebook here in the chat window. You can find it here. It's already shared with you in the chat window. If any of you are interested, you can download it. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your time.